So I guess I'll just start talking. I'm Mark, coffee buyer for Kaladi, and we're here with Dave and Jessica and over our exciting weekend of cleaning a very dirty coffee roaster.
Good fun.
Filthy.
I was telling Jessica this is the roller coaster shot, so watch out. Here we go. Down, we're down, and here you go.
That's the grate between the Cyclone and the Afterburner. Thoroughly unclog all those little holes in there.
I don't know how long this shot is, but it kind of gives you an idea of the total, what the roaster looks like altogether. And before we go digging in, that was a very fast edit there, Dave.
It's match action cutting. I'm very fast paced. We did this all in 8 minutes total. So this piece here is the cross tube between the roaster and the afterburner. It usually gets pretty glommed up with stuff.
Yeah, so much so that we just nowadays just buy a temporary piece and just cut it off and throw it away. Because it's just, well, there you go. Yeah. A lot of the debris just gets caught up in there, particularly with the junction between the Cyclone and that tube coming in. Because that's the real kind of custom piece for it, because it goes from round to rectangular. So first we just kind of take that piece off any way we can, throw it away, and then we can okay, embarrassingly dirty coffee roaster. It's how dirty is it? Well, hey, look at there.
It's all for illustration purposes.
That would be a French roast up there.
Let's pull the top off there so that we can get in and clean the actual roast chamber itself. Remember to disconnect all the pieces before you start yanking on the lid.
Yeah, what, that water line there? Yeah. Yeah, and the principal area that needs to be cleaned is the top of that roast chamber, because that's where a lot of the debris will start collecting up inside of there. The actual roast chamber itself really doesn't get that dirty. We'll get in there and start scrubbing down. But as you can see, there's no real buildup inside of there per se.
Which is what keeps our coffee so clean tasting.
Yay. But there is a different story. Just no water jet. The water jet is completely caked over. Massive amounts of, actually that's a lot of the shaft that just kind of adhere to it. And then removing the Cyclone. The other big dirty area. Mm-hmm. The main thing is there's so much caulk, because it's always a desperate attempt to plug up all the leaks, and depending on how liberal the person was with the caulk last time, makes it the difficulty of getting the Cyclone off, which I think I just kicked it off ultimately.
Yeah, I think so too.
And there's Jer on the inside of the roast chamber, getting onto that back side. That's on the very back of the roast chamber. Look,
using
it is
a razor.
A razor. It's actually metal underneath there.
It's not supposed to be black.
On a drum roaster, we call that caramel.
It's made to sound delicious.
So yeah, here on the top there was a good solid 1/4 of an inch or so of.
And this is you, Dave, right?
This is me. This is when I spent.
How long
most
did you
of
think
the
you?
day.
Yeah, how long do you think you spent on that, just on top of the chamber?
I would say a solid hour and a half, starting with the big one and then moving down to a razor to get it deglommed.
Yeah, that was kind of funny thing with me holding the camera and just kind of pointing. No, do this. No, do that. The larger, I think a lot of it was no, that's got to be cleaner. No, that's got to be a little cleaner. You got to get that
Thanks
spot.
for the help, Mark.
Ta-da!
But it's really important to get all that, get it as smooth as possible, because any area. Oh, look at that! It's like
so dirty.
I love this.
Tumor.
It's a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
And now it's clean. How quickly?
Instantly.
Yeah.
That's about how long it took.
Yeah.
This Matt was working on the Afterburner and Cyclone. That's like one of the worst jobs to do, because you have to reach up inside of there.
Ugh. This part's pure muscle.
Yeah.
Hammer. That's the most
The
essential.
hammer. That was the secret, because
That was
last
the
time
secret.
it didn't get as clean as it should have been. A little more of that debris in there. So I was telling you, take a hammer to it and just kind of actually
just wallop. Crack everything up and then chisel it off with a really sharp chisel.
This is more academic. We're just kind of all of us horrified how much debris is inside of there. We're going to rip this piece off, but you can see that rectangular area. Okay, now Matt's up inside the afterburner area. Afterburner was only getting up to like 400 degrees. Was incredibly built up inside of there. So much so that we took the burner itself to the car wash. Andy took it the next day and actually hosed out through, and the entire inside of that Venturi, I think there's maybe like a 1/4 inch of debris that actually where air could pass through. The 2 inlet areas for the oxygen going in there. And while Andy was doing that, I was busy scraping out the inside, the remaining parts of the afterburner. And look, it's all clean.
Yay.
Yay. The white part in there, you know what that is?
What?
Caffeine.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Crazy, huh?
That's what caffeine looks like.
That's what caffeine looks like. Okay, we got the Venturi back in.
Clean afterburner.
What was the diameter on it after you cleaned it out?
Oh, it's about 3/4 of an inch pipe in there. And then we put a brand new sensor probe igniter switch on there. And then I'll do a little test ignition, make sure we got it all together, and boom. And now we're getting like 1,200 degrees. It's another, I think we had like about, 20 pounds of coffee inside the
Yeah, at least.
Fan.
fan.
That's the cooling bin fan.
This here is the blower motor. I'm working to replace the bearings because they squeak and rattle and vibrate, and they're just inefficient in general.
The thing's sound like a diesel truck running.
Yeah. So it only looks like 4 or 5 screws, but the monkeys took a very long time to take this all apart.
Yeah, I like how you edited out the 45 minutes we really spent on this piece.
Yeah.
Well, this is another one of those things that it hasn't been done in so long that by the time we got around to doing it, we had forgotten how to take the bearings off.
So here we are working, a little
Go real
thumping, a
fast
little
next
pulling.
There we are.
There they are.
With
Greasy
about
bearings.
5 years worth of grease build up on them.
Shiny bearings. Once we figured out the whole system, it was easy to put them back on. Grease them up, get them ready to go.
And now putting the top of the roast chamber back on. And also we put brand new gaskets all the way around on the inside, between the roast chamber itself and the top.
More putting back togetger.
So this was a pretty serious overhaul, and it was kind of interesting because prior to doing this, I mean, I was having doubts of how much longer, how many more roasts we were going to get out of this afterburner, and seriously considering just retiring the whole thing. This roaster actually came originally from Soldotna, Alaska. It was put into our third store originally up there, and came down. I mean, didn't really use it all that much up there, but come down here. I think since just on the Excel worksheet, we're 280,000 roasts on this.
Wow!
Just on the Excel worksheet. That was several years in before we started using an Excel worksheet, and we've lost. I think 6 months off that Excel worksheet too. So I'm sure this roaster has 500,000 roasts on it. But that being said, after this overhaul and cleaning, I mean the only real new parts were the bearings, the ignition switch for the afterburner, and the gaskets and the typical tube. The roast, the piping. It's like it's an all new roaster again. This is as happy as it could be.
Yeah, and you can really tell the difference. Water sprayer and everything working efficiently.
There it is. All back together again, all clean.
Looks like new.
I'm gonna caulk it down. Again, it's you try to use as much caulk as possible.
Every crease, hole, and screw.
Yeah, and realizing the roaster it actually is vibrating around quite a bit while roasting. And then what you won't see is that we'll do metal tape around the outside of out of those caulk lines. A whole bunch of caulk there.
Precision caulking.
Yeah.
Notice the gloves.
Yeah.
Messy
Yes.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah, your hands will be dyed red for days if you don't use gloves.
There it is, and clear does a dance. We're done.
Yay!
Cool.